Darkness steals the vision, and every single guarantee you ever held about staying alive in the air. High above the Black Caribbean, a colossus is suspended between the heavens and the ocean, burning bright. 3 combat veterans inside the flight deck stare down something far more terrifying than any enemy fire. It is a catastrophic mechanical failure at 10,000 feet, with absolutely zero safe runways within reach. However, the dying turbines are not the true nightmare here. In this high-altitude theater of war, hostile targeting radars lock onto their broken fuselage, turning this emergency into a dangerous geopolitical standoff now. Down in the southern Caribbean, the heavy humidity never truly breaks. Even at 4 in the morning, surveillance stations dotting the various shorelines sweep their invisible beams through the gloom, hunting endlessly for targets. Suddenly, every display lights up in unison because an object of immense mass is plummeting. Right now, the machine is a C-130 Hercules, which serves as the spinal cord of American logistics. This specific bird is call sign Razor 21, boasting 4 turboprop engines designed for rough landings. It was engineered to endure punishments that would shred other airframes, but endurance has a breaking point. Razor 21 has slammed into that point, as 2 of the engines are now bleeding fire. Hydraulic fluid is atomizing into the slipstream, sparking into orange nebulae that stain the darkness behind them. The landing gear deploys too soon, creating a parachute effect that drags the plane toward the waves. Inside, the flight crew is wrestling with physics, while the pilot strangles the yoke with vibrating muscles. Hydraulic pressure flatlines, so every adjustment requires double the human force it typically demands from the pilot. Beside him, the co-pilot chants altitude numbers in a robotic
trying
cadence.
To maintain a horizon line.
Altitude 200543, 21. In the rear, the loadmaster inspects the cargo chains with obsessive focus to stop the payload sliding. If that payload slides now, the center of gravity shifts and the plane becomes unrecoverable very quickly. They all understand the arithmetic that at this descent
they have
8 minutes before water impact. The distress broadcast goes out, professional and steady, declaring an emergency with losing power in 2 engines. Those words travel at light speed across frequencies, making controllers in Curacao sit bolt upright in alarm. 2 Super Hornets materialize from the upper atmosphere like stalking ghosts flying cover at 30,000 feet. Now they dive hard with afterburners, kicking briefly before throttling back to flank the dying transport plane. Their existence serves a dual function of guardianship and documentation if the transport plane crashes into water. This specific corridor is among the most watched zones in the hemisphere for counter-narcotics and spies. Venezuela monitors its northern borders with paranoia, while Curaçao talks directly to the American Southern Command headquarters. A broken American military transport falling toward Venezuela's sovereign waters is a lit match in a barrel. Inside a coastal defense bunker alert, sirens begin to wail as soldiers rush to their digital consoles. The digital picture clarifies a large contact of American origin, dropping fast with a very erratic path. A commanding officer with 30 years of service grips the arm of a junior operator saying, "Hold." This feels wrong because the dive is too sharp and too sloppy, so this machine is perishing. Then the scenario explodes into something exponentially more dangerous as a fire control radar activates on ground. The unique frequency of an SA-6 missile battery saturates the airwaves, causing sensors to detonate instantly. The flight deck is drowning in electronic shrieks, signifying a ground-based system has acquired a lock. The pilot knows his bird is ruined, falling through 7,000 feet with dead props and controls. The Hornet leader screams over the net. They are spiked by a tracking radar bearing south. The escort jets break formation, firing chaff and flares even though the weapons are not tracking them. Electronic jamming pods spin up, blasting noise toward the coastline, while the transport pilot wrestles the yoke. Down below, the battery commander stares at his monitor as the target blooms bright on his scope. His standing orders are absolute, that any unidentified military contact reaching national airspace is a valid target. His palm rests on the firing key, meaning 6 rockets could scream toward the limping transport immediately. But he pauses, because something about the radar signature does not fit a standard American strike mission. This thing is struggling and trailing heat with gear down, like a wounded beast in the sky. His radio operator just suddenly yells that they are picking up the distress loop of American voices begging. Engine loss and souls on board confirm this is not an assault, but a tragedy unfolding now. The commander lifts his finger off the button, ordering his crew to keep the lock but hold. His crew exhales in unison while the battery remains hot, painting the plane with lethal radar energy. The American crew does not know they have been spared, because the tone in their headsets continues. We are in emergency descent and we are not hostile. Repeat. The static lasts for 5 seconds before a voice, thick with an accent, replies from Defense Command. You are targeted by surface-to-air batteries, so hold your current vector or risk immediate war. The pilot gulps air, saying, Copy that holding vector, but we need payment now or we swim. After a delay, the controller says, American aircraft, you are cleared direct to Curacao, do not test. The targeting radar stays hot, but the immediate danger lowers by a fraction as the pilot inhales. The fighters tighten their formation, placing themselves between the transport and the coast to intercept any rockets. The fighter pilots watch their threat scopes while coaching the heavy transport to correct drift 2 degrees. At 4,000 feet, the island finally emerges from the gloom as a cluster of illumination. Ahead, the airstrip extends ahead like a glowing line, sketched by Salvation itself. With crash trucks staging now, Razor 21 is cleared for a straight approach with no circling. Just put it on floor. The sink rate increases at 2,000 feet, and violent turbulence strikes the airframe like a hammer. The Hercules falls 300 feet in 2 heartbeats, causing alarms to blare while the male East Asian co-pilot snaps. The pilot answers his terrified co-pilot with pure stubborn rage, shoving the control column forward for velocity. He trades height for velocity and then rips it back to stop the fall, making the airframe groan. Something in the wing spar snaps, loud enough to hear while the loadmaster grabs a cargo chain. Impact is violent and ugly as the left gear slams first, punching the concrete with bright sparks. 75,000 pounds of aluminum, and terrified men leap 6 feet up before crashing down again. The giant skids forward, trailing smoke and swerving right before the pilot forces it straight with strength. He used the entire runway before finally shuddering to a stop, 20 feet from the grass verge. Foam trucks swarm, instantly blanketing the smoking turbines with chemical retardant while the radar lock finally drops. A high-ranking defense official later writes that the event showed discipline under stress despite the distress. But the night is not over, because a Black Hawk helicopter fades in from the north. Flying dark, it moves with practiced rhythm, touching down next to Razor 21 while foam drips off wings. Men with rifles step out in black tactical kit, rushing to sealed crates from the aircraft ramp. They move to the helicopter with robotic speed, allowing the Black Hawk to lift off within 90 seconds. Whatever Razor 21 was hauling, someone needed it gone immediately, as the pilot watches the rotorcraft. Around him, the standard mess of a crash response unfolds, but he knows this goes beyond mishap. They flew down the barrel of a missile system, surviving to deliver a payload vital enough to extract. His co-pilot asks about the cargo pall, but the pilot scans the horizon saying, "Not in this lifetime." In Washington and Caracas, secure lines are burning, with encrypted data regarding a geopolitical disaster narrowly dodged. The true cargo vanishes into the classified world, where the truth goes to rust in the dark. 3 armored trucks pull up to the fence line, driving lights out and navigating entirely by memory. Lead truck parks, while others set up a perimeter that keeps even the fire crews away. A senior officer steps out, sharing a few words that shift the pilot into a rigid stance. Once more the ramp drops, revealing a long box identified only by a single red diagonal slash. There are no barcodes or warning labels, and the transfer is rehearsed and finished in 2 minutes. Firefighters watch something forbidden, making them intuitively grasp that asking any questions would be extremely dangerous now. Overhead, an E-3 Sentry orbits in the stratosphere, with its massive radar dome sweeping everything moving. Venezuelan operators spotted, instantly validating the suspicion that the crisis was just one single moving part. The American electronic shield manages the data, proving dominance even during a failure of their transport plane. It is a quiet statement that we can work here, even while falling out of the sky. The convoy speeds off toward a locked hangar, leaving the aircraft isolated like a spent bullet casing. The crew waits for debriefing agents who arrive with encrypted recorders and non-disclosure forms, requiring signatures. The loadmaster finally voices the idea that they almost died, delivering something they cannot ever know about. Nobody corrects him because the sentence needs no validation, so it just hangs there in the air. By sunrise, satellite photos show heightened movement near the hangar, where vehicles cycle through with clockwork timing. Staff move in patterns implying long shifts, while civilian flyers report strange glitches in their GPS systems. These are the footprints of jamming gear utilized when something needs hiding from space-based spy eyes. Whatever rests inside that building has become a phantom, protected by walls of security and electromagnetic spectrums. In the tower, phones ring off the hook while the supervisor manages chaos, staring at the hangar. He has run this airfield for 15 years, watching hundreds of emergencies, but the rhythm here is off. This operation flows like a scripted ballet, with every piece arriving exactly on cue, then leaving on time. Someone designed this long before the engines quit, while the Venezuelan battery stays on high alert today. Their captain files a comprehensive report logging every choice made. When his finger shook over the trigger, he knows this file will be dissected by top brass, because his pause exposed a critical fact. American heavy lifters can pierce their kill zone, call in distress, and pull out sensitive goods easily. Both countries now adjust their stances based on teachings from one burning plane and a shared choice. Men will get medals in rooms with no windows, while the hull will be flown again. Intelligence officers rewrite estimates about fire fluid and a radar lock that held tight but never engaged. Real narrative concludes not with safety, but with a riddle that nobody ever dares to solve. Please hit like and subscribe to Wines of Thought for more untold history. If you enjoyed this,